Now recording. So today we're going to talk about a franchise that we kind of teased a little bit yesterday and a few videos before. We're going to talk about Hellraiser.
The box. You opened it. We came.
The twofer came. So you were looking up like Pinhead quotes before this, and I know what you were doing. You were thinking of like what we put Topher and Buff into. So Buff, if you're watching this, sorry, not sorry. So yeah, really good franchise. I hadn't properly watched these till earlier this year. I'd seen the third one, similar to yourself. Probably, I think, because that was the new one when we were like 13, something like that. When you start watching films like this. I'd seen bits of the others, but I couldn't remember them till I rewatched them recently. Really liked them. The original trilogy, that is. So you can't get these films in 4K or anything, but it doesn't matter because Arrow Video have brought out this really nice box set. I spoke about Arrow Video in one of my previous videos, and how they do a really good job with Blu-rays. Really good quality anyway with this, and the extra features are really like lengthy as well, and you get reversible sleeves with each film, so really nice for your collection. And it's interesting that they've just stuck to the original three, which is definitely the way to go, because with this franchise, I could be wrong, but I believe Clive Barker obviously wrote Hellbound Heart, the original book, and directed the film. I believe he only endorses the first three films. Obviously,
yeah. Well, I mean, he directly was involved at least the first two, like quite extensively, from what I can recall.
The first two, yeah. I think the third one he did endorse to some degree, but I think he pretty much detached himself from the others. Doug Bradley, on the other hand, stayed with the franchise for quite a long time.
Doug Bradley being the iconic character of Pinhead.
Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of people are still rooting for him to come back for like remakes and so on. And it's like, well, the problem is the problem with the films that came after that wasn't anything to do with him. As good as he was, it wasn't enough to save those movies. And they're not terrible movies, but they aren't Hellraiser movies. We know that these were written as other films, and they just basically thought, well, we've got some like psychological thriller. Nobody's going to watch it. Let's just use the rights to Hellraiser and just kind of throw that in there. And hey, you've got a Hellraiser sequel and loads of like a pre-existing fan base for this film already.
Yeah.
Every
kind of weird. Sorry, go on.
Well, every film from number 5 onwards did that, apart from maybe the last one that came out. But I can't even get hold of that like in a physical format, so I haven't seen it.
I was gonna say it's kind of weird if you come in like I did, like the third like film or so, going back to watch the first film, it's a bit of almost a Friday the 13th thing. Like the original film, Pinhead's not exactly the star of it.
Yeah,
he was just kind of the breakout character. They kind of it's more to do with like somebody who's escaped the Cenobites rather than the Cenobites themselves. They just get summoned like fairly close to the end of the film. But he just did such a good job as like Pinhead that he just immediately became iconic.
Yeah, the big fan base. He wasn't even known as Pinhead in the first film. He was credited as lead Cenobite. It wasn't until the second film, I think, they realised that they really had something with the character that they wanted to do. But even in the second one, he's not in that hugely. That's what's good about the films, because on all the posters and that, like with Nightmare on Elm Street, you think, Freddy Krueger, there's Jason Voorhees, that's like the face of the franchise. Pinhead was the face of the franchise, but the real evil in it was the human element, which was, why it kind of stands out to me as something a bit different.
Well, certainly at the time, because it was kind of like a very kind of sadomasochistic kind of.
Yeah.
That's not to say it's torture porn, because this was long before that kind of era.
Yeah.
But it had that whole kind of like, we are explorers in like pleasure, you will come and taste our like delights and stuff. And it's like,
that was tough. Yeah, no, it was that sort of thing, but it was more sort of a fantasy element. And obviously the score to this, I got the soundtracks to the first 3 films on record, and they really are what elevate this film at certain bits. Because especially like the first film where you see the Frank Cotton character kind of like coming back, all pieces of him. It's real nasty looking, and there's like a spinal cord and it attaches to the brain. That would have looked laughable, but with the music, it just kind of puts you in like a state of kind of awe as to what you're seeing, and you have to kind of detach yourself from that. And it's just like, this is like really cheesy effects, and it's kind of hilariously like it's creative, it's good, but it is kind of like laughable where the skeletons are going and that. But it was that music that really kind of took it and elevated it and made it something really like fantastic.
So I say that's kind of like the like bad guy really of the first film, and his like, is it his wife or somebody he's having an affair with, like basically like the stepmom or something who's like helping him.
Yeah, Frank Cotton, because his brother is played by the guy that played the bad guy in the original Dirty Harry film. Can't remember the actor's name, but yeah, and it's kind of weird. It's a British film. Is Hellraiser 1? Hellraiser 2's got a bit more of an American. I mean, the third one is massively American. The second one, you've got like American police in it with American police cars, but it's in England. It's kind of weird. Apparently, they did that because they wanted to sell it to like the American audience and just kind of give it a feel of being in America. But whatever. Like you say, like Pinhead. One thing I didn't notice until recently, obviously, in the first film, Pinhead is the first Cenobite to be kind of dispatched by the Kirsty character, and then all the others kind of come about because he was the lead, but he wasn't like the bankable like villain. But if you watch the second one, it starts with a bit of a recap of what happened at the end of the first film, and it plays it out of sequence. It shows her getting rid of all the Cenobites, and Pinhead is the last one in that flashback, as if like it leads up to like the big boss that is the final one to go kind of thing. It's kind of interesting how they re-edited that in the second film. I'd never noticed that until someone else pointed it out.
Yeah, the second film's also interesting. I mean, it kind of continues the story of like Kirsty, the protagonist from the first one, is kind of back again. Though this time she's in like a mental asylum.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting because you kind of see where the Cenobites come from. And although it says like, everybody's own hell is like unique, so this won't necessarily be what you see. But it's this massive labyrinth with this weird like geometric like diamond shape. The Leviathan, the god of the like Cenobites. It's just like really weird and fucking Lovecraftian.
Yeah. And that's what I like about it, because a lot of people criticised it and said, "Oh, that's terrible. It's like the end of the film Labyrinth, but not as good." It's like, this is a low budget film, and it was the creativity went into it. It was I think very admirable. It's not the best horror film. It's not the best horror franchise or trilogy if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
But it's for what it was. I thought it was really good and imaginative, because I hadn't watched these because I wasn't really interested in them, and it's like, shit, I missed out on something,
Yeah, well, again, at the time, there was nothing really like this. It was very different and kind of like disturbing.
Yeah.
Without being like, yes, you're going to see like these people getting raped and murdered to death and like all that kind of shit that you get now. It was like, it was a less is more kind of thing. It was more the suggestion of just what they would do to you rather than seeing in gruesome details like what they'll do.
Yeah. And you can see the Cenobites' point of view on this as well. I mean, they just are. They're not like people. There's no sort of morality to it. They're just kind of like gamekeepers.
Yeah. It's like, you've called us, you want this. Like, don't start, backing out now.
Again, that was tougher with Buff that time. So didn't end well. But no tears, please, Buff. It's a waste of good suffering.
Oh, Buff. So we get to play. So reluctant to admit it. Yeah, by the time of the third film, they had got a bit more kind of cheesy.
Yeah, because in the third film, it kind of picks up from the Pillar of Souls, doesn't it? Because in the second film, the end of it, you see that, and it looks different because it's like a giant, looks like a sculpture, doesn't it? Like made out of stone or marble.
Yeah, because somebody's supposed to have like crafted it in the asylum, aren't they?
Yeah, and ends up in a nightclub in I can't remember which city it is in America. It's San Francisco.
Yeah, so it's definitely America now. They're not even like pretending anymore.
Oh, it is. Yeah, absolutely. It's got, what's the name? Is it Dax from DS9?
Yeah, Terry Farrell.
Oh, yeah. But he has got some links. But the films that came after, I mean, you wanted to talk a bit beyond that. We can't do because we're running out of time.
Basically, I'd vaguely touched on like Bloodlines, the fourth film. It's
Yeah.
not a good film, but it is kind of interesting for the mythology. It's just weird 'cause it's almost like 3 or 4 films like rammed together.
Yeah.
Not enough time to explore any of them.
Yeah.
And then just for shits and giggles, we'll send Pinhead into space at the end. Because that's the sign of a good horror film. Sending your protagonist into space.
He did get a cinema release, unlike the other sequels. I'll grab them off my shelf 1 second. Hellraiser. I lose track of which order these in, but I got these others. I've talked about this in my video review the other day. So the Blu-ray has got some of the films, including Bloodlines. There's Hellraiser Inferno, Hellraiser Hellseeker, and I think Hellraiser Deader was after that. And then the last one with Doug Bradley was Hellraiser Hellworld, which has Lance Henriksen and what's his name, Henry Cavill, who was quite young at the time in it. And then after that, there was was it Inferno and Revelations, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
But they don't have Doug Bradley in at that point. He just basically said, "I'm done," kind of thing. But all of those films, apart from Bloodlines, they were all written as just generic films, and they just threw Pinhead and the Cenobites in. You can definitely tell. There is one of them that does have the Kirsty character in it, from the first 2 films. They do bring her back, so there's some connectivity. I can't remember which one that is now, but they bring her back, and I think that was one of the lesser crap ones of this as well. But again, it was very contrived.
I say it's kind of interesting because there is like a whole mythology around the films that you don't necessarily get just from the films themselves. Because that Mr. H reviews, he does YouTube reviews, he does quite a few on like the Cenobites and a lot of the extended stuff around it.
It was the Tortured Souls. Was it a range of figures or something? Yeah.
They all have their own like backstory, and they're very heavily like Hellraiser inspired.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, the fourth one has some like lore in it, like about what the puzzle box is and stuff. But beyond that, like you said, they just basically, oh shit, we're never going to sell this film. Whoop! I know, Hellraiser. That's a recognizable name. We'll slap Pinhead on the cover. That'll sell it.
Yeah. Well, I think speaking of Mr. H reviews, because I think he's probably done the best set of Hellraiser videos on YouTube, because I've got a playlist together and a lot of his stuff came. He talks about when he does his reviews of some of the later films, well, 3 and 4 in particular, uses the phrase "it was a product of its time," which is definitely accurate.
Yeah, that's fair. Certainly with Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, because it was very 90s kind of horror movie.
Yeah,
it was a lot cheesier, a lot kind of. Basically, Pinhead's lost some of his memories and he's a bit more kind of hamming it up, like not quite Freddy Krueger, but kind of getting there.
Yeah, with sort of one-liners rather than sort of quotable phrases, like when he says, "the box, the buff opened it and the topher came." Oh no, I messed it up a little bit there, but you get the gist.
Yeah, but like, we'll tear your soul apart. We have such shites to show you and all this kind of stuff.
Shites to show you? Well.
But yeah, he was like a really quotable character, and I think that's just what like helped when he was just such a unique design, like something you hadn't seen before, and just quiet menace, because he wasn't really overstated. He wasn't like big and bombastic. He was just like, we're here, we're menacing, you can't get rid of us. We're like,
one of my favorite quotes is, and I'm not going to do a take on it, but it's "your suffering will be legendary, even in hell." It's like a really good, and you could change that to buffs, something about buff, but yeah, that's the Hellraiser franchise anyway. I mean, without kind of going into it and editing clips in, because I think as well, if I edit any clips into this, I think YouTube will mess with us, because I believe that they're a bit funny on Hellraiser, and the studio owns them are a bit relentless. So no Hellraiser clips for this video.
I'm pretty sure Mr. H Reviews was complaining that a lot of his videos were getting demonetized, because if he even talked about anything Hellraiser related,
with pictures, it's just like, nope. So
I think he was just talking about them, not even if he had like clips necessarily.
Yeah, fair use doesn't seem to apply on YouTube. But anyway, I'll cut it short. That's our Hellraiser video, finalising our Halloween series. We'll be back next year. We're back through the year with other stuff, but I think the Halloween stuff. We should do a Christmas one at some point. That'd be fun. But we've been doing Halloween ones since we started the channel, so it's like a massive tradition. But we could do some Christmas videos at some point because there's plenty of Christmas films we could talk about anyway. Including
one last Pinhead quote.
No, go on.
Buff's dreams, such fertile ground for seeds of the Topher.
That works as well. Were you saving that one?
Yes.
I think
we're out.
I think the last year we ended the video with the Prince of Darkness. The Buff's Topher's got a message in you, you're not going to like it. At least I remember what the quote was. That was from Hellraiser 3, wasn't it? That about seeds.
Human dreams, such fertile ground for the seeds of torment.
Yeah, because she's dreaming about a dad, isn't she? And yeah. Anyway, on that note, nice one. Sorry, Buff. Not sorry.
We're not sorry. We're not even pretending.
Yes. Right. Anyway, so yeah. Well, happy Halloween. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed the series. Final words.
I'm done.
I think we can top that. All right. See you later. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to talk about something that you're right. You look like you're pushing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Were you sure it was recording there? Because you started talking long before the recording call thing came up.
It was, yeah. We're 13 seconds in. We can start again if you want.
Yeah, let's start again.
We'll save that for the outtakes.